Victims of abuse sometimes find themselves unable to fight back or say no. Their bodies scream no, but their minds override their instincts. Afterward, they often feel confused and even angry at how they could have allowed the person to touch them in such ways. They may feel that they betrayed themselves by not standing up for their own boundaries. It is not that they were paralyzed with fear. They knew what they wanted, but they just couldn't say it. In this video, we delve into the lesser-known Fawn trauma response. When faced with a threat, whether perceived or real, we instinctively react in a way that we have learned offers the best chance of survival. There are four main automatic responses, with fight or flight the most well known. This comes from our early caveman days, where when faced with danger, you either run away, being the flight response, and if cornered, you fight, being the fight response. The third response is freeze. This is often handy in dense vegetation or against predators who find prey by movement. For example, if you hear a rustle in the bushes or see a predator, you may first freeze and hope they do not see you. If they do, you run hoping that they do not catch you. And if they do, you fight and defend yourself. The fourth response, fawning, is far less known but equally important. Fawning is particularly useful in fluid domestic settings where the danger doesn't come from something that wants to eat you, but from someone who wants to hurt you because they are emotionally upset. The fawn response was coined by licensed psychotherapist Pete Walker. He describes it as a learned behavior, often originating in childhood as a result of complex PTSD. This response typically develops in situations where running away or fighting back is not an option. Often, the victim is reliant on the abuser, or the abuser can easily overpower them. Freezing is also ineffective because the abuser demands interaction and responses that align with their agenda. The best option for survival then becomes a fawn response, especially if the abuser is in a heightened emotional state. With fawning, the victim tries to appease the abuser and calm the abuser down, or at least prevent the situation from escalating. Fawning manifests in behaviors such as excessive agreeableness, conflict avoidance, and prioritizing the abuser's needs over one's own. Since this behavior is often learned in childhood, it can become deeply ingrained, making it challenging for individuals to change and sometimes even to understand their behaviors as adults. In the following section, we will provide examples to illustrate how a fawn response can manifest in various situations. Imagine the following situation. A secretary attends a work party and a boss starts making unwanted advances. Although she feels extremely uncomfortable with her whole body screaming no, her mind is overridden by the overwhelming need to be agreeable and not cause a scene. The mere thought of rejecting him and possibly embarrassing him creates fear in her. She is compelled to be nice to her boss and places his needs and possible negative outcomes he may face if she makes a scene over her own needs and feelings. As a result, she may continue to engage in polite conversation and unwillingly allows some unwanted physical contact to keep the situation calm and avoid confrontation. From the outside, she may seem to enjoy the attention and physical contact, but inside, she feels distressed and possibly even detached from the situation. Although fawning is most often a trauma response, it can lead to people-pleasing behaviors in adulthood. You may find it hard to say no to others, fearing you will upset them. For instance, imagine you're trying to study and a friend comes in, wanting to go out and party. They refuse to accept your polite refusals. Reluctantly, you find yourself being dragged along and accepting one drink after another until the night disappears in a blur. The next morning, you miss your exam and scold yourself for not standing firm and saying no to your friend, even though you knew the consequences. In the following sections, we will explore how you can recognize the fawn response in yourself and steps you can take. The fawn response often manifests in adulthood as excessive agreeableness. You may find yourself agreeing to things that you don't want to do or that go against your values, simply to avoid conflict or to please others. This makes it extremely difficult to say no to people. You may feel guilty or ashamed for saying no, even when doing so is clearly in your best interest. You may frequently prioritize others' needs and desires over your own, even at the expense of your own well-being and safety, and may go out of your way to accommodate others. For instance, you might spend your rent money to pay for someone else's drinks or dinner just because you feel uncomfortable asking them to pay their share or calling them out for forgetting their wallet again. An overwhelming desire to avoid confrontation can lead you to alter your behavior if you anticipate or fear that the other person may get upset if you say no. You might find yourself running conversations and situations in your head, trying to anticipate outcomes and planning how to manage the other person's mood while attempting to say no without actually saying it. When others get upset and act out, you might blame yourself for their actions and think you are selfish for trying to put your needs and feelings first. It can feel as if you are letting others down by not always being there for them and doing what they desire from you, even when you know they are clearly exploiting you or do not care about you as much as you care about them. The first step in addressing the fawn response is to acknowledge that you are engaging in people-pleasing behaviors. Thank your body and this response for keeping you safe in the past when fighting back or running away may not have been effective. Practice self-awareness by paying attention to your feelings when facing decisions, and ask yourself if you want to do something or if you feel compelled to agree in order to avoid conflict or upsetting someone else. Start by journaling your feelings to situations so you can see and understand your triggers and how people exploit or manipulate you. We all have a mental model of how we want others to see us, such as being a good child or partner. A manipulative person may exploit this by saying things like, "Think of what your family would say if they heard you saying no to your own mother." Here, they are trying to exploit your need to be seen as a good child. By knowing your triggers or vulnerable points, you can start addressing them by setting boundaries. Start small by saying no to minor requests or expressing your preferences in low-stakes situations. Gradually, you can work up to setting more significant boundaries and saying no to more demanding requests and standing your ground under more pressure. Know that abusers will often punish you for saying no to them. To stop them from doing this, you may need to point out their unfair behavior and have consequences for them if possible. Abusers do not care about words or threats. They care about actions that impact them. The only way to stop the fawning behavior is by slowly retraining your mind to fight for and stand up for your values and needs, so that people realize they can no longer push you to comply. Additionally, if they try to punish you for not giving in to their demands, they will face consequences. Before entering situations where you might feel compelled to fawn, plan how you will respond. Practice assertive responses and rehearse them mentally. This preparation can help you feel more confident and less likely to default to people-pleasing behaviors. Over time, toxic people will naturally drift out of your life and be replaced by people who genuinely care about you and respect your boundaries. By implementing these strategies, you can gradually reduce the influence of a fawn response and develop healthier, more balanced ways of interacting with others. Remember, it's a journey, and each step you take brings you closer to reclaiming your autonomy and well-being. To help you navigate abusers better, learn the 9 beliefs abusers often hold by watching the video suggested to you right now.